Right. Hi guys. Welcome back to the Talkaholics podcast. This is Iman.
And this is Razia.
And today we're going to be talking about something that we've talked about similarly in the past. So if you guys are a long-time listener, you would remember years ago, to be exact, episode 27. We did an episode called Muslim Girl Traveler's Guilt. And we talked about, like traveling as a young Muslim girl and the guilt that came along with it. And if you are a Muslim girl, you probably already know. But essentially it was about how we felt a responsibility to stay home and wanting to do things for yourself, and in this case was traveling, tends to come with a bit of guilt, and that can stop you from doing things, and we did not let that stop us. Much to our families. Anyways, so today we're gonna shift a little bit because we're a little older now, and there's other things that we want to do in life, and one of the things that have come up is moving out of the family home prior to being married. Scandalous. So yeah, that's what we want to talk about because again, this idea of guilt comes up, and. Yeah, Razia, talk about your experience with this. Talk about how you've come to this moment.
I think it's like such a natural next step in talking about our I feel like the podcast has kind of followed our lives somehow and our journey as young women. But I think it's just the next hurdle in our life. We got over the traveling thing. Iman and I prioritize travel and have prioritized travel throughout our careers and throughout our lives. And we've had a fair share of that. Not that we're done by any means. There's a lot of world to see.
Just again.
But along with that comes with that taste of independence. You kind of want it to continue, and that involves moving out for both of us. So I think the guilt with that is it's very culturally based. So it's not the same for everybody, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I know for Iman and I, it's it's not something that happens without the step of getting married or without the step of this other big serious stuff in your life. And for us, it's it's more about independence. It's more about taking control of our lives, having your own routines, being able to take ownership of our space,
having your own space. And it's not the same as having your own room because I've always had my own room since I was a child, so it's very different when you kind of step out of that. I don't know what it for me personally, like you said, it feels like the next natural step, and a lot of times people feel like the next natural step is marriage, and not that I'm opposed to being married. I eventually would one day, inshallah, be married. But I don't feel like that's that's not necessarily the next natural step for me in terms of being an adult. I feel like the next natural step would just be having my own space. Yeah. But then at the same time, the point of view of the family is what's the point? Why are you spending your money when you don't have to? And obviously that's not the case for everybody, because there are people sometimes who live at home and still have to pay rent and things like that. But I'm specifically for my case, I'm lucky to be able to stay home, not have to pay rent or anything like that, and just have to focus on whatever my bills are, personal bills. Yeah. But it's there's that kind of need inside of you to step out on your own, because I feel I still feel like a child in some ways, where I'm oh, I'm at home and my parents pay for this house and and it's not that I haven't offered to help pay, but they're no, save your money. So I'm okay, well,
it's one of those things. It's a cyclical thing, and I think for anybody who's listening, I think if you're a Muslim girl, you get the shtick. I think that's something culturally wide. No matter what your background is, so long as you're Muslim, you kind of get the culture around it. But for those listening to kind of get a sense of what the guilt stems from beyond culture, it's it's leaving leaving your house in a way that feels like you're not supporting your parents. That's a huge thing. Especially of much older parents, that's something that's more evident. So not being around is tough, and there's that attachment issue, I guess. But it's that's I guess that natural part of life that it's hard to get over. And also it's just I think a lot of women right now, it's just an easier thing to do once you're handling things like a social life, a career, traveling, wanting to have your own routines within a day.
there's not someone checking on you all the time.
That is just easier to like live out when you live on your own. And like, I don't know if you want to comment on like, for those who are, you know, dealing with the same kind of guilt as we are, like what I guess some like pieces of advice would be. But it's just like one of those things that I think benefits both parties. Like I actually do know of a friend who recently left their space, and it kind of came with the same kind of guilt. And it's something that helped both parties' mental health and like in a way. And like one thing that they found is that when they do see their family, when they do actually come home to visit, because that's not like something that stops happening the second you move out, is that they felt like that time together was a lot more like higher quality, because you know that like you have this window of time with them, that it happens occasionally now, but you end up having like a better relationship with that with, you know, your family. So I think that's a huge thing to like keep top of mind when you're tackling those emotions.
I think that I don't know if there's a way to not feel guilty, because I haven't found it. I think it's just something you have to deal with. Like you just have to deal with it, but also remind yourself that it's okay like to feel guilty. Like that just means you're a caring person. Like it's not a bad thing, but it shouldn't stop you from doing something that will benefit you. You know what I mean? Like I think you just have to. Everybody's situation is different, like, so you have to look at your own situation and see what is more beneficial for you. And you know, and like there are people who shouldn't live with their parents. Like there are people who live in you know, families that are not good for their mental health. They can live with abusive situations, and so like if they have the opportunity to leave, they should leave, and they shouldn't feel trapped in their home. But then like in my situation, I know that I have it good. And so like sometimes I'm like, why am I taking that for granted? Like why am I feeling like I need to leave when I know I have it good? Like I have a loving and supportive family, you know, like, but it's still that feeling of like not having my own space, and I don't feel like a full adult. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to explain it.
It's a quality of life thing, I think, ultimately. Like not to say that like what your current situation is like not of quality, but it's just there's something I don't think having to explain to people like what owning your own space feels like, and it's like that nice. It's an empowering feeling to own your own space, to be in control of it, and to like keep up your own. Like I don't know. It's just your day-to-day life is. It's like it feels a lot more. And like even for me, like I can think of specific situations like I don't have control of who enters my home. You know what I mean? Like I don't have control. If someone's gonna come and visit my parents, I'm there. Sorry, you know what I mean? I can't, and you can't just like stay in your room because that's rude. You know, culturally. so it's like I don't have control who enters my home. If I don't want to see people, I don't have a choice. Like, you know, I have to interact with the people in my house because again, that's rude. So sometimes, you know, you feel like you just want to be alone, you don't want to talk to anybody, and if you live in a home with multiple people, you can't really avoid that. So again, it's that idea of control. And also I had a taste of living alone. When I was when I did my exchange, I lived alone for 6 months. And then I also lived alone. Well, not alone. I lived with my friend for a little bit when I was in Budapest in 2019. So like, I have had the feeling of living alone, and I've had the experience. So, and I know how much I enjoy it. So there's that. I also think like, well, for me, I never ended up like going away for school. Like I'd never like lived on a campus or like moved out. So I feel like there's part of me who's like always wanted that experience. Exactly. And also I think it's like I feel like I got the taste through traveling, and like I mean we did the Airbnb thing in Toronto for a while, and like the both of us looked at each other. It's like what it would be to own a condo in Toronto. Like it's just we got like a bit of that. So I don't know. It's just I think it's like a little self-explanatory, but it's like one of those things that I'm hoping. I think with our generation, like once our generation has kids, like it's something to like we'll get over. But it's definitely a hurdle for a lot of women, and I just think like prioritize your own peace like is one thing, and like again, not to say that you like everybody comes from like a terrible household or one of those things or it's difficult, but it's just it's in the simple small things that makes your life easier. But I did want to talk about some of the things that me and Iman look forward to should that day come that we move out and have our own spaces. But I wanted to like pivot to something like, what are the dream things, Iman? Let's imagine you have your dream condo, whatever it looks like in Toronto, or wherever, and you like, what is like the first few things you would prioritize that you can't currently do living in?
I don't know. Okay, well, okay, I would. Well, I mean, I would decorate my home a lot differently than how my obviously family home is decorated. Like, obviously my family likes a lot of browns, a lot of...
Enough with the neutral.
No, it's not even that, but it's like, just, and there's a lot, like, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but it's very much an ethnic home. Like, you can tell it's an ethnic home, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I like the way my home looks, but I think if it was me, I think it would be a little bit less, like, a little bit more minimal.
Yeah.
And I would love to put up, like, art on the walls, and I have so many, like, prints and stuff in my room that I would put around the house rather than just in my room. Yeah. Like, I feel like if you walk into my room, you're like, whoa. It's like pictures and this and this and this. So, like, it would be nice to spread that kind of around the house. And I'm not one to think too much about, like, color palettes and stuff, but I think it would be pretty neutral. Yeah. In the sense of, like, you know, like cream and, like, not too much white because I'm messy and, like, that wouldn't work. But, like, kind of like how your room is. I like the way your room is. Like, it has, like, some wood and it has, like, some, like, color here and there, but, like, most of it's neutral, but it has pops of color. I really enjoy that. Yay. And then, I would deck it out with the technology. Like, this is where my money would go. That's where, like, I would.
Are you thinking like sound system?
Sound system.
Okay,
TV,
yeah, so I thought.
And also, like, I'm
LED
terrible.
Are you tech queen?
Yes. Okay, but I'm terrible because like anything when it comes to like electronics in the house, like I will buy it. Anything. Like I want a coffee machine. I want like you know, like an electric milk frother.
I feel like I walk into your home and everything's automated. There's like
everything's automated. Like everything. I love like you know like the smart thermometers.
Yeah.
And like
you're gonna get those talking fridges. I get
literally, you don't understand. There's so many things into the technological world. Like the appliances are insane, and that's where all my money would go. I love it. But yeah, and just like I don't know. Yeah, it would just be like something. I don't need something too big. Yeah. But I would like to have like 2 bedrooms at least, because I could do like a bedroom in an office, or like if I, in this economy, need a roommate. You know, to split it.
Actual
you know
facts.
What I'm saying?
Yep.
But that's and I think it would be very different. Like when I'm living alone, what my home would look like when I'm living alone versus if I were to ever have, you know, get married and have a family, that'd be something. That's something else. But like when I'm living alone, yeah. What about you?
This just reminded me, and like side note for us, but also future episode maybe for us. I want us to do like we've never done like a vision board episode where we go like here's.
I've never done a vision board in my life, so that'd be a
first. You love Pinterest though. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when I say I don't love Pinterest. Like, I occasionally am on Pinterest.
Okay. We'll explore this. It was in denial by her Pinterest love. I don't know what this is. But yes, no, we need to do that in another episode and talk like big picture.
Yes.
But that would be so much fun. But in terms of, so a living space, the first thing definitely comes to mind is interior design. Yes. If you haven't this is
I would get Rosie to design my space. Yeah.
Guys, can we do a vlog? And like I'm like, okay, yeah, sorry.
When I hopefully one day.
No. Don't get me excited. I'm ready. Oh my god, guys. Ooh, sorry. I would love to, like this whole project of like my own room was its own like thing that I was thinking about for so long, and like I mean these pieces would follow me everywhere I go, but like I as someone who's just like generally creative, like that extends to like furniture and like designing a space. So that's like number one thing that pops up in my head, especially like condo life, like bougie, like and like windows and overseeing Toronto, like that whole thing. Yeah. Sounds so much fun. But besides that, for me, it's just like I'm a very social person, so like the idea of like living with a roommate, but also like hosting having small things.
Oh,
like,
I would love to host.
Right?
I would have all the board games.
That's exactly what I thought immediately. Like like gaming night, board games. Like again, someone who like I have a Switch. Like we both love a Switch party. It'd be so much fun. I love cooking. I love just like the idea of having a space for our friends to hang out,
Yeah.
and like that doesn't involve us all meeting at a restaurant or us all
Yes.
like,
Oh, God.
especially like fun fact, when
We
you
just
get
always go
older,
out to eat.
your friends like also move farther apart.
Yeah,
You tend
me
to like
too.
have
And
like
they have their
different
own
spaces.
schedules and
Exactly, it's a whole ordeal. But if someone has a spot, it's
Then we
so
can
much
all-
easier.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a huge thing. It's always like top of mind for me, and like yeah, like even just having like roomie days is like such a cute thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like doing having a spa day, girls' night, yeah, whole thing.
Where would you live downtown? Is that like where you think of when you move out? Would you go downtown? Downtown Toronto? Even if you don't live in
yes.
Toronto?
Yeah, but I wouldn't be so, if it was just like just outside of it, like GTA, I wouldn't be bothered by that. But I'm thinking dream state, like the ideal includes like the whole view and like being close to the city, and like commuting for the most part is like by bus, subway, because like that's the easiest way. Yeah. But that would be it. I
honestly love. I was gonna say like I would love to live downtown, like, you know, with our experience, you know, with our Airbnbs and stuff. But I am fine with staying like in Scarborough.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
or
insane.
like I wouldn't mind being in like the
young. Scarborough's not that. That's what I mean. But that's not far outside.
Yeah. Also, it depends on where you are in Scarborough, because Scarborough is quite large. Yeah. Like, and obviously, if you're if you're not from like the GTA, Scarborough is just a part of Toronto. Yeah. But it's like in the east, and it's quite large. Because it goes like all the way to Pickering. But I would go like close, like where I live right now in Scarborough, which I will not say on camera. Yeah. I mean,
don't dox on
the podcast. Not gonna dox myself. But where I live now in Scarborough, that's a good area, because it's like, you know, pretty populated. It's a really diverse community, and you're kind of close to everything. You're close to downtown. Yeah. But you're close to So I like that area. I wouldn't mind living there, or like Yonge and Steeles area. Yeah. Like North York, bougie. That'd be nice.
Also, I'm not done.
Oh, sorry. Continue.
Come on.
Sorry.
Yeah, I got excited. Just kidding. I'm kidding. No, and like the other big thing is just like having the space to do. I know this is super nerdy, but like to do projects and like being able to just like move furniture aside, set up an easel, move furniture aside to like put shit on the ground and start like doing whatever it is that I want to. Like just like the not feeling like your messiness or like your hobbies is like literally forcing somebody else to like so like the idea of having a second space just for an art studio, or just for like a whatever, or like, I mean, ideally would be for like a roommate, but like it's just being able to like own the space and not like feeling like you're gonna ruin the carpet. I'm like, well,
or just being able to leave the dishes in the sink for like 5 seconds. Yes.
Not the most passive aggressive thing we've ever said in our lives. That's so funny.
It's like if it's in there for more than 5 minutes, all hell breaks loose.
And then knowing us, it'd be like, our Uber Eats habits are so bad.
See, here's the thing. I like to tell myself that if I were to live alone, that I would have my own, like, having my own kitchen space would encourage me to cook more. Yeah. Because I feel like I don't cook as often, because like it feels like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like my space.
Yeah. No.
Which is an excuse, I know, but like, you know, it's just nice to have your own space, as we keep on saying.
No.
That's really the point of this whole thing.
No, I'd like to think that I'd cook more often too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, with this economy. With this economy,
I feel like this should be the title of the fucking episode.
With this economy,
how many times you've said it?
It's honestly terrible. Like, and this to pivot. But like it's pretty topical. Like the housing / like just everything market here is insane.
Yo,
okay,
money
like
sucks.
that. Like we are going towards a recession, yes, but like it's actually crazy. We can't own homes. Yeah. Like our parents at our age already owned homes.
I know.
It's like now we were born and raised here, and we can't even own a home here, and it's actually insane. Yeah. Like homes are, if a nice home, a nice home is already over $1 million. Mm-hmm. For you to own a home over $1 million, you need to have 20% saved to put as your down payment. Mm-hmm. That's over $200,000. Like, and then if you don't have the 20% down, and on top of that, you have to be making over $200,000 annual income. So even if you have the 20% down, if you're not making the annual income, the bank will not loan you the mortgage. So it's like, sorry, this is me, like, this is my deep dive on TikTok, like, the realtor space on TikTok, because I'm pissed.
You know what I want the edit to be? You know, like, when the big algebra is right over you.
The math.
I would love that. I would
no, but, like, it's actually insane. Like, even, because this is my thing, because, like, if I want to right now, I want to own something. Like, even if it's a condo, I'm, like, personally, I'm looking for a 2-bed, 2-bath condo right now to own. Okay?
Ooh, 2
and
bath.
Yes, 2-bath. Because if I want to, you know, rent it out or like have a roommate, they have their own bathroom. You know, it's easier, right?
Yeah.
And like right now, the market is kind of dipping. Yeah, we have seen some decreases, but it's still insane because people are trying. Everybody wants to buy. So it's like, and also as me, as me as an individual, like with my income, even with my parents as co-signers and things like that. You still don't get a lot from the bank. The bank does not want to give you, well, I mean, considering we also have a mortgage, so, you know, like that's also, it depends on your debts as well. But, like, it's not easy. I'm just saying it's not easy, and it's not fun. And literally every day I'm on, like, all the sites looking for something, and I'll be like, oh, I found something cool. And then I'll be like, I'll try to set up a viewing, and then it gets sold, and I'm like, oh, it's actually insane.
It's a whole thing. I think, I mean that's part of it that makes it complex beyond like the guilt part. It's just the realities.
It's the reality of
the
your finances.
It's a financial part. I think the point being that like yes, like the finances are tough, and like that's part of what makes moving out or living independently difficult. But it's just also the reality that even it's not expected that by like your mid-20s or even in like. It takes like into like your mid-30s to really figure out your career and like what you want your life to really look like. Yeah. Because people are taking different paths or changing jobs. The pandemic just happened, which was really difficult for certain people. So I think the expectation of where you should be in your life in this like around our age really differs for different people. So
and I also think that like the rhetoric around millennials and like why we're so poor is like it's either you have no life and you like save every penny so that you can hopefully one day own something, or you're in the wrong because you're like going out with your friends or you're buying a coffee or like you're not saving that $4 on that coffee towards your $1 million house, like, and it doesn't make sense. Like why should you have to sacrifice having a social life just so that you can potentially it's not even guaranteed that you'll still get the house, right? It's so that you can potentially own something in the city. And so like we're seeing a lot of people go out. Like I have friends who live in Bowmanville.
Bowmanville. Like, shout out. Actually don't.
And cities like, east, like Ajax, Pickering, those are now these are becoming cities that are now expensive, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or areas that are now expensive now.
That's the other thing too, is real estate is on beast is like the availability of like affordable housing, especially like if you're looking to mortgage a house, is likely not within it's not within the radius that you'd want it to be.
Yeah. And they didn't prepare us for this. No one prepared us for this. Like, we were not given the tools. Yeah. And I think, not to go into, like, a rant and potential conspiracy theory, but, like, I feel like this is all on purpose. Like, just keeping us in the cycle of debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keeps the rich, and the poor, and, like, the middle is not... Is there a middle class anymore? Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's very difficult, and
I think the point being is it's a complex situation depending on who you are and like what your financial situation is, and also where you want to live and what you want your future to look like. What stability means to one person means something completely different to someone else.
Yes.
And like
and I actually saw a TikTok the other day, and it was like, what is affordable to someone, or like what is considered affordable is not the same. People don't have the same mindset. Like.
Yeah,
I was thinking about it because they were saying I think they were doing it in the context of like relationships, because like when you're getting in, you're asking a person to see like what their threshold for spending money is and stuff like that. And so someone was like, a good question is like, how much would you spend on X? Like pick something. So if me and Razia I were to ask Razia, like, how much would you spend on a purse? Mm-hmm. Like what is considered expensive for a purse for you? I would say like $100.
Yeah.
someone might say expensive is 1,000. Like, that's not even my realm of thoughts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
no, it's
like,
a completely fair
the
question.
idea of affordability is very different for different people.
It's all within lifestyle too, right? Like it's like what. Yeah, it's like how important is fashion in someone's sense. Like not all of us are foodies, we fucking are. But and like you know, like travel, like it's all part of this bigger picture of like I know we were talking about guilt at the get go, but it's like it's part of the same picture of like wanting to live your life that you feel is high quality to you without having to feel like it's this completely selfish endeavor that you constantly want these things for yourself. But
and I mean, maybe you can label it selfish, but like, okay, then be selfish. Like, no.
Another potential title for
like,
this episode.
Be selfish. It's like, especially Muslim women, we are always consistently told. Yeah. And like, when I say told, I don't mean outright. People are not telling us like, oh, you're, you know, actually sometimes we're being told outright that you're being selfish. But like, I feel like it's in the way that we were brought up and raised. It's always considered like the way we see our mothers and our aunts and anybody older than us, older women and stuff. We're shown that we have to be like humble and cater to the needs of our families and like to other people before ourselves. And it's like, if you cater to your needs first, you're seen as selfish. But you know what? No. Okay? We need to be selfish because at the end of the day, no one is going to live your life for you. Like, and this is why when it comes back to this whole thing of like doing things that your parents may not approve of or like they don't want you to do because they want you to stay home. Listen, at the end of the day, who's gonna, like, no one's gonna, your parents aren't gonna be here forever, first of all. Like that's a really morbid thought. Like, but unfortunately, that's what it is. Like, people are not gonna be here forever. So if you hinge your, you know, desires and things on people, you're never gonna feel fulfilled because they're gonna leave one way or the other. And then you're gonna be left with, oh, like, I never did anything for myself. And that's it.
Deep thoughts for me.
Like, and again, it's easier said than done to do things that make you uncomfortable and like make you feel bad and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you have to get to this point where you're like, okay, either I'm gonna do it or I'm gonna regret it for the rest of my life.
It's a very TikTok-y thing right now, but it's like that one that's going viral right now. It's like, I might have spent a lot of money, but I'll make it back up. But I won't make
very dangerous thought.
But I won't make up being like, in my 20s again.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, is the idea, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's like, oh, you know, I might never, or I'll get this money back, but I'm never going to be 20 in like Spain or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which again, that's dangerous because not everybody has the same financial situation. So
it's a privilege thing. But like the sentiment. The
sentiment is true. It's like either you do something now or you're going to think in the future, oh, what if I did that? You know what I mean? And obviously you always have to weigh the pros and cons. You have to be rational about things. Like, you shouldn't put yourself into like crippling debt to do something. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like, that's going to be your responsibility either way, right? So you just have to take measured risks, I would say.
Look at that.
Measured risks.
Everybody, today's lesson. Measured
risks. So yeah, I don't know. We don't have the solution. We don't. Yeah. But I would say if you are listening to this and you are a Muslim woman who's still living at home and you're kind of feeling trapped and you feel like you're not like, you know, your true self yet, it's okay. It's okay for you to live at home. Like, save your money. Yeah. Do what you need to do to provide a better future for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, prioritize you. Like, don't feel...
Prioritize yourself. It's
a hard thing to work on guilt, but...
And don't feel like you need to be pressured into marriage to leave your home. Okay? Because a lot of people are doing that. Especially,
I'm not disagreeing.
I find that there's like a lot... And I'm not going to say all of them are doing this just to leave their house. But a lot of young women are getting married now. And some of them, it's because they want to leave their homes. And
but it's been a try to.
Freedom.
But you know, it's a try to thing. It's exactly to get freedom.
It awards you the freedom. But sometimes they get into these relationships and their husband ends up being exactly like their parents.
Fair enough.
You know, like, it ends up being like an abusive relationship or a very controlling and manipulative relationship. So, like, you should never use marriage as an excuse to get out of your home. You just need to you need to do it for yourself. If you want to leave your home, then you need to do it for yourself. Don't find a guy to get you out. Because, like, We don't trust men like that. Okay?
There's so many good fucking one bite like sentences from this that I.
We're not hinging our dreams on men. Please.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, we hope that this was insightful to you for those who probably might have been also thinking about the same topic as us for a while. Feel free to leave a comment and tell us what we should be talking about next. Like we revisited topics like this every so often, and if there's something that like in and around culture and like just our community in general, we're happy to talk about it.
Yeah, and leave some like advice if you've done this. If you breaking free,
actually, it's a great.
Leave
point.
some advice for the listeners and for us below.
Yeah. Share your story.
Share your story. How did you do it, or like how are you managing it?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Especially after having the perspective. That's great. But as usual, you can find us on all of our socials. That's like YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and then you can listen to our podcast on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We're also on TikTok and on at Talkaholics Pod or Talkaholics Studios, depending on where you look. And yeah, thanks for watching.
We'll talk to you guys next.
Bye.
Nope, we might say that again because that wasn't English. We'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.